You might hear a child described as falling behind in literacy, at parents' evening, in school reports, or in meetings. But that phrase is often vague. It can be unhelpful and sometimes misleading. So in this video, I'm going to explain what falling behind really means in literacy, why it happens, and why it's not a sign of low ability or a lack of effort. If you find this kind of content helpful, you can support the channel by liking the video and subscribing for more clear, practical explanations around literacy, learning, and neurodiversity. So let's dive in. So when schools talk about a child falling behind in literacy, they're usually not talking about intelligence or understanding. They're referring to a gap between a child's current literacy skills and what the curriculum expects of them at that point in time. And those expectations are often based on age-related benchmarks, year group standards, or curriculum pacing guides. So a child may be described as behind simply because their reading, writing, or spelling skills don't yet match what is expected of them for their age, even if they understand the work, can explain their ideas verbally, or show strong thinking skills in other areas. This means falling behind is a comparison, not a diagnosis. It doesn't tell us why the gaps exist, it only tells us that there is one there. Literacy is often the area where learning differences become visible first. That's because reading and writing rely on a large number of underlying skills working together at the same time. So these include phonological awareness, working memory, processing speed, language processing, attention and executive function, and fine motor coordination. If even just one of these areas is developing more slowly, literacy can begin to feel difficult, long before difficulties appear in subjects like science, social studies, or maths. This is why many children who are curious, articulate, and thoughtful still struggle with reading and writing. The problem isn't understanding, it's the cognitive load literacy places on the brain. So literacy development doesn't happen in a straight line. Children don't all learn to read and write at the same pace or in the same order. Some children make steady progress, others move in bursts. Some may appear to plateau for a while before they make sudden gains. This means that a child who looks behind at one point in time may not stay there. So comparing children at age-based expectations can make normal variation look like failure. And when we add pressure on top or we add it too early, this can increase anxiety and reduce confidence, which actually makes literacy hard. So progress matters more than pace. So there are many different reasons why a child might fall behind in literacy, and it's rarely not just down to one thing. For some children, literacy difficulties are linked to dyslexia, where processing written language is harder. For others, it could be ADHD, which can affect attention, working memory, or task initiation, which makes things like reading and writing more demanding. Some children have language-based differences, such as developmental language disorder, which affect how they understand and use vocabulary and sentence structure. Others may have processing speed differences, meaning that they need more time to take in and work with information. There can also be wider factors, such as interrupted learning, emotional stress or anxiety, and reduced confidence following repeated difficulty. Very often, these factors can overlap, and that's why falling behind is best seen as information and not as a judgment. It tells us that a child needs support, not that they lack ability. So when a child is described as falling behind in literacy, it often shows up in different ways that are easy for us to misunderstand. So a child might avoid reading or writing tasks, work very slowly or tire very quickly, produce less written work than we would expect. They could become frustrated and disengaged, and show strong understanding verbally but struggle to put that down on paper. And from the outside, this can sometimes look like a lack of effort, but very often the child is trying very hard. They're just working with a system that places heavy demand on the skills that they find difficult. And over time, repeated experiences of difficulty can affect their confidence and self-belief. That's why it's so important to look beyond the label of behind and understand what the child is actually experiencing. When a child is described as falling behind in literacy, the solution is not to add more pressure or expect them to simply try harder. What helps most is understanding which skills are causing the difficulty and supporting those directly. And this often involves explicit teaching of reading and writing skills, breaking tasks into smaller manageable steps, reducing memory and processing demands, allowing extra time when they need it, and using assistive tools such as text-to-speech or speech-to-text. Just as important is protecting a child's confidence. So when a child feels safe, understood, and supported, they are far more able to engage in their learning. So support should come before acceleration. We need to build strong foundations because that is more effective than pushing them ahead too quickly. If you're a child or young person watching this and you've been told you're falling behind in reading and writing, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not stupid, you are not lazy, and you are not failing. Learning to read and write can be harder for some brains, and that doesn't take away from how clever and creative or thoughtful you are. You may just need more time, different teaching, or better support. Your progress still matters, and you are capable of learning and improving, even if it doesn't happen at the same pace as others. For parents, carers, and teachers, hearing that a child is falling behind can be worrying. It can trigger pressure, fear, and a feeling that something urgent needs to be fixed. But falling behind is not a judgment on a child's ability. It's a signal that the child needs more time, understanding, and the right support. And when we focus on identifying specific needs rather than pushing for speed, we create the conditions for real progress. Progress doesn't always look fast, but when it's supported properly, it is meaningful and lasting. Falling behind in literacy doesn't mean a child isn't capable. It means their skills are developing at a different pace, or that they need support that better matches how they learn. When we understand this, we can move away from pressure and comparison and focus instead on progress, confidence, and effective support. If you'd like more information, resources, or guidance around literacy and learning, you can visit my website. The link is below. If this video was helpful, you can support the channel by liking the video or subscribing for more calm, clear content about literacy and neurodiversity. Thanks for watching, and remember, difference does not mean deficit.